All right, so it's late winter, early spring, and I thought that today would be a good day to start working on this root over rock spruce. Now, I've been thinking about this for a while. I bought this tree back in the summertime of 2020, probably around June or July. Not very expensive either. It was only about, I think, $40 if I remember correctly, and it's a pretty nice tree for $40. It's field collected somewhere in the western states of the United States. And when I saw this, I instantly thought of a tree growing on a hillside. So that's why I'm going to be making this into a root over rock bonsai tree, and I'm going to be doing it in a particular way. So let me go over all the supplies I have and kind of what I'm going to be doing, and then hopefully today, before the sun sets, I can start repotting this. And if not, I'll probably just record another video. So I have a tub that I designed in a specific way, and of course the rock, which I had to cement together. So let me get them. All right, so here's this stone, and it's not perfect, but it was very difficult to find something that had the right shape and size to it. Most garden centers, they had very round rocks, or if they were tall, they were just kind of too heavy. This one is nice. I got this at the aquarium store actually, and has a lot of cracks and crevices on the rock. The apex of this rock isn't perfect, but I guess I'll live with it. I could have kind of chiseled away a piece to make it more triangular, but I was afraid I might just crack this in half if I do it the wrong way. So it's not a big deal. There's a kind of a hole over here, some ledges, which I'm going to try and get moss to grow on. And then this tree, I want it at a particular level. So it's going to be kind of sitting on the base of the rock here, which I do have to be careful with. If you look closely, you could notice it's cemented together. So this piece is kind of like a triangle, and then there's a piece right here to kind of keep this all standing in a triangular way instead of this other bigger rock leaning over. So I have that cemented together. I think it should hold up. There's a wire down here kind of holding stuff together. I'll probably remove that later on, but I don't know, we'll see. And then let's talk about the container. So this is custom built. This is, I think, like a dishwashing tray. I just looked up heavy duty plastic trays, and I found this. And I drilled a bunch of holes in the bottom, and I epoxied some of these PVC sticks to the bottom just to elevate it a little bit. I also screwed them in, so these are gonna stay on here. And then in here we have an idea that I got from Ryan Neal when he did some rock plantings. He put wooden boards in the bottom to kind of give a better surface area for the rock to sit on. And it's kind of a similar idea here because this plastic is thin and it was kind of warping. So by putting these in there, it kind of helps distribute the weight, and then also it raises it up a little bit. So this is a temporary pot, of course, and I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of permanent pot, but this still is gonna be in training. So right now it doesn't really matter. Gives me time to grow the roots, see if this is gonna live, but this has already been a yamadori from last year, so I think it will survive. And then from there, we'll just kind of do a similar thing. I'll get some wood or the PVC, whichever one is better, put it in a actual bonsai pot. But for right now, this rock kind of fits into here in a particular way, kind of around there. And then what I'm gonna do is just put the tree in here, kind of leaning off to the side like this. And then I'll just dump the soil in here and we should be good to go. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some more wire, some rubber coated wire, and I'm gonna tie the rock down where I want it just so it's extra secure in here. Because, you know, it is secure, but maybe if I'm transferring this, carrying it over, it is a little bit heavy, especially a little bit top heavy. So I'm gonna get the rubber coated wire and just tie this in really nicely. And then we'll plant the tree in here, and I think that'll be it for today, and I'll just style it later. So let's get started on that.
So I'm going to tie down the edges of the rock with this rubber coated wire, and even if the roots grow over this, we can just cut the wire and slide it out later. So not really a big deal, just want to keep this rock in place.
Okay, so this part's done. This wire is pretty much holding this in place, and now I'm probably not going to pick it up by the rock. when I'm moving this around. I will still be using the base, but at least this helps keep everything secure in case there's wind or something. I feel pretty confident that this will stay in place. Now this is kind of a one-piece container, so all that's left is to put some soil in here, rake out the roots from that spruce, get it over this rock, and then the next thing we're going to do is put some soil in the bottom. Primary components are the akadama, the pumice, and pine bark, and I like to make my own because I buy big bags in bulk, and when I sift everything out, I have different sizes for different sizes of containers and different sizes of trees, and also I can kind of tailor make the mix. Include some more pine bark sometimes, include more akadama other times, and it depends on the species I'm working with. For right now, I just made a general mix. It's pretty much equal parts pumice, akadama, and pine bark. So we have enough of a base layer here now. I guess there's maybe a little bit on the rock. I don't know, it's not really gonna matter because we're gonna keep some of the old soil that's in this spruce pot. Just because, you know, it's probably similar to pines where there are beneficial microorganisms living in this previous soil. So I'm gonna dump some of the old soil into here, and what we're gonna do right now is try and break up this root ball. All right, so this is some yamadori for sure. You can see that is the extent of the roots. I think that getting this long root over the rock is going to be a nice feature, but as for the rest of this, it's kind of a mess, but that's okay because roots will grow, and then with subsequent repottings, we can kind of establish more roots going over the rock. Eventually, as the deeper ones grow into the pot, these will be less necessary or essential. A lot of the small ones can be ripped off, and we'll just have like a radial set of maybe 7 roots going over the rock, looking aesthetic instead of a mat of roots. So there are some kind of big, thicker nubs here, which I am going to cut off, which probably won't really make too much of an impact on the tree. Because the majority of the roots are kind of growing elsewhere, but I want to get this kind of nub from the old thick tap roots off so it fits on that rock a little bit better. And I'll go ahead and take a look as to how this fits on this rock now. And I think I'm gonna have to mess around with the way this is situated a little bit because that root base is a little bit thicker than I thought it would be. So I'm gonna have to mess around and kind of think if, maybe, originally I thought of it going this way, but I might flip it around based on the roots and kind of have it growing this way. But I'll have to come around from the front and kind of see how that looks. All right, so we have one wire keeping the trunk in place. We have another one keeping this trunk pushed down. And then one just kind of bringing it towards the rock, which I will need to tighten a little bit more. But that's kind of the general idea I have going on here. And of course, this will be more stable once the soil is over it. We'll have these roots kind of grow into place. This is a nice one because it's going to be kind of over the rock already. Then as for the rest of them, we'll just kind of, comb them out and kind of hope they start growing here over the years. But then, of course, like I said, we can always up pot this, repot this once it has more of a root base established. But for right now, with the kind of bulge in the stump we have down here, this is the best I think I'm going to do for right now. I've tied this tree into here the best I can. It will be a little bit more stable once we pack the soil around it and get everything situated. However, this was kind of a challenge because of the way the trunk kind of swoops in a C shape, and then also has the thick nubs from the old roots instead of just a bunch of thin, fine roots. We're going to just have to keep it like this for a number of years until the roots grow and establish themselves in this container and kind of grow off the back here. And then we can cut more stuff from the front to make it a little bit more flush against the rock and not have to depend on these roots that are kind of bulging out. All right, so this next part isn't too complicated, just adding soil all around this. And I think I should have enough. So like I said, Not really an ideal root placement, but we'll just work with it over the years. Then eventually we will see kind of some roots growing over the rock. Now, I picked this container specifically for this project. When you see people do root over rock, sometimes they add sphagnum moss and some plastic wrap, or they have a pot, they cut a hole in the bottom, they cut a line in the side and kind of wrap it around. But since this pot is deep enough, I can get the roots situated kind of here around this rock without building up any kind of mound or any kind of extra layer. However, the downside is the roots can kind of grow flat out here. So what I may do in the future very soon is get some plastic and kind of put it around this top inch or half inch of soil, probably maybe at more like an inch to 2 inches, just so that the roots don't grow on the surface here. They kind of grow down around the rock. So it's kind of the same idea. And if it doesn't make sense right now, I'll just come back and show you coming up here pretty soon anyways. So that doesn't really matter for right now. I'll just make a separate clip all about that. So that should be good. Now all I'm gonna do is get the watering can and water this all into place. And I'll probably have enough time to actually style this tree today. And what I'm gonna do is wire these branches down heavily, maybe a little bit more exaggeratively. That's probably not a word, but I'm going to exaggerate it quite a bit because I want this to look like an Alpine spruce where they have their branches drooping down quite a lot. And it's kind of maybe a style preference I have. Maybe some people will say, you know, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I see some people, they kind of like to have their branches go kind of flat and out to the side. I don't really like that. I feel like it looks too artificial. So I'm going to wire these down pretty severely, try and get quite a sharp angle on a lot of these branches. So they're going to be drooping down quite considerably. But, you know, first thing is to get this all watered in place. So let me go get the watering can and do that right now.
All right, so that's going to be it for today. I'm not going to do any styling in this video because it is getting kind of long and I want to, you know, keep my videos a little bit on the shorter side. And I have already styled this tree and I have all the clips in Movie Maker, and it's going to be a shorter video. I think it's only around 7 minutes long or something like that. It's going to be a big voiceover, but I'll do the wiring, and I am excited to release that because I do like how the final style turned out. But that's going to be it for right now, the beginning of my root over rock spruce, and I'll see you in the next video.